Today's topic is about the things that narcissists are afraid of and what they're actually going through mentally and physically. They might walk around bullying and looking all powerful, but what they show on the exterior is quite different than what they feel on the interior. Narcissists, they often project a confident and a self-assured exterior, but beneath that surface, they can and do harbor deep-seated fears and insecurities. While individual fears can vary, when it comes to the narcissists, they all have these 8 in common, which of course they don't want you knowing about. That's why they created the mask. Okay, so let's get right to the point. The first fear that I want to mention is rejection. Narcissists thrive on admiration and validation. They thrive on it because they need constant affirmation that they are what they want to be. But in reality, they're quite the opposite. The way we can look at it is it's like the child pretending to be Superman. When a child steps into a role like that, they really feel all powerful during those play sessions. It makes them feel safe. It makes them feel powerful. It makes them feel a sense of control. But the thing is most children know how to step out of the role. For example, mom calls out for dinner and the child quickly steps out of the role and comes running to the table with no thought of what he or she was doing 5 minutes prior. But when it comes to the narcissist, they don't step out of the role. They can't let it go. That feeling feels so good to them that they're not willing to part ways with it. They can't fathom the thought of being less than perfect because what if they were rejected? The fear of rejection can be really hard for them because it threatens their self-image. It's just too hard for them. I mean, if we're going to look at radical acceptance, they are emotionally stuck in the mindset of a child, unable to mature past the insecurities and the unmet needs that they experienced in early childhood. They're really stuck there. And they'll go to great lengths to avoid situations where they perceive rejection or criticism. It's often why a lot of them don't have friends or don't socialize much. And that's why you can't criticize them in any way, even if it's constructive criticism. And often it isn't even criticism. The mere fact that they'll try to say something and you don't respond immediately, maybe your child is in the middle of asking a question, and to them, all those terrible feelings that they had growing up of feeling powerless come flooding back. So they'll often go into narcissistic rage. It's the child within that's having a tantrum. It's a way to make it stop, make that feeling stop, because to them, taking a look at a painful memory in order to heal isn't an option. They've never processed and they're too afraid to look. Number 2, they fear losing control. They can have panic attacks, which they won't tell you about, especially in social situations where this anxiety starts. It's like in their minds, everything is happening together and it comes in like this massive wave, and they feel that everything is coming at them too fast, which causes anxiety. And this is caused usually from some sort of trigger, like a comment or a look from another. For example, if they answer a question in some public setting and someone looks at them, they will immediately start thinking that this person or these people are judging them or secretly criticizing them or laughing at them. They're really afraid, they're paranoid. And this leads them to having these racing thoughts where they're analyzing the whole conversation that just took place and completely blowing out of proportion that something awful is about to happen. And they can go into such paranoia that inside of them, they're freaking out, afraid that they'll lose all sense of control within them. They're literally shaking inside and holding hard to themselves to control that situation that they feel inside. They're afraid that they may say the wrong thing. They're scared that they'll lose control over their emotions. And it can go so far as hallucinating images in their minds. It's super paranoia. They're afraid that they'll be shamed and unaccepted, which is abandonment to them. It makes them feel that very pain they felt in those childhood moments. And like I keep saying, it's too much for them to handle. They're emotionally stunted. But what saves them is that they'll tighten up that mask and they'll go into control of self as a survival mechanism. In public, especially the covert, they'll survive by keeping really quiet. Maybe play the role of the quiet, mysterious person, or the role of the autistic person, or the person that's really a good listener. But when they get home, they're going to need to refill with the supply that they've lost, and they're screaming, "I'm the king or queen" at the top of their lungs. They need to be reminded that they aren't weak or a nobody. Sometimes they'll be extra controlling for days at a time. And boy, is it hard on the partner. The fear of not having control stems from the idea that if they lose control, they will once again be vulnerable or rejected or insignificant, just like they felt in childhood. And they can't have that. They can't deal with that. On the other hand, if a child was excessively praised or placed on a pedestal, often overly controlling or self-absorbed parents, these ones can develop a sense of entitlement. In those cases, the child's sense of control has been artificially inflated, which leads them to believe that they are superior and deserving of constant admiration. The fear of losing control comes from a deep-rooted insecurity that if their inflated sense of self is questioned or threatened, it could shatter the fragile identity that they built in response to earlier experiences. And that's why if you break up with a narcissist or if you discard a narcissistic person, they tend to become obsessive with you because they can't stand the thought of not being able to control you. It's really scary for them. Children who grow up in environments where love, affection, and discipline are erratic or unpredictable, they struggle to feel safe or secure. They don't know what to expect from their caregivers where nothing feels safe or predictable. So if they don't protect and control their world, they won't be able to stay grounded. In adulthood, narcissists often attempt to control their environment or relationships as a way to avoid the emotional chaos that they experienced as children. Having control, it allows them to feel safe, and it reduces the anxiety of being emotionally overwhelmed. They too are in survival mode. Number 3, they fear vulnerability. They're afraid of being vulnerable because vulnerability means showing their true self, which they learned to hide behind a facade of perfection or superiority. Childhood experiences of rejection, ridicule, or emotional neglect can lead to a fear that if others see their true selves, they are going to be judged or rejected. And to avoid that, narcissists try to maintain control over their image, their behavior, and their relationships. Anything that might expose their inner vulnerabilities. The fear of losing control it's really unsettling for them because it challenges their need for dominance and power. They have to keep that Superman or Superwoman suit on. They'll react strongly to situations where they feel that they're losing control. Again, here the loss of control can cause narcissistic rage. It's that child again screaming. And some of the ways that you'll see them trying to control situations is through micromanagement. Micromanagement is excessive supervision. They watch everything that the victim does up close. And that includes the way a person might cook a meal or paint a wall. Everything has to be done precisely as directed by the narcissist. Any day-to-day performance done by the victim is watched through a magnifying glass, and the victim feels monitored. And with good reason. They are being monitored. They'll focus on details that don't even matter, but a detail to a narcissist can be a mountain. You are not dealing with normal here. They'll watch everywhere the victim goes. And some are going to watch the odometer reading on the partner's vehicle. Some might even go so far as to read text messages on the partner's phone using some type of software, or even set up cameras in the home that the victim is unaware of. The narcissists, they don't see their partners as individuals. They're a means to an end. They see them as extensions of themselves, meaning that they see you there to uplift them and serve them. You are not in your life for you. You're in your life for them. If they were to lose control over you, you would individualize, and that would be death to them. Hence the micromanagement. They need to make sure that everything is in check at all times. It's the only way that they can feel secure, because they never feel secure. They never feel safe. The fact that they can take over someone's life like that, and that another is willing to play the role of servant like that, means in their minds that they are godlike. Even if the partner lets them know that they're going to make their own decisions about something seemingly minute, such as what road they'll take to get somewhere, because the mere fact that he or she makes their own decisions means to them that they are not willing to be the servant for them, which in their mind is supposed to be a full-time contract. Other than that, they feel betrayed. Number 4, the fear exposure, big time. They don't want anybody seeing their inadequacy. Behind that grandiose false of self lies that fear of inadequacy. Narcissists are terrified of being exposed as less competent, intelligent, or capable than they portray themselves to be. Any threat to their perceived superiority will trigger anxiety. They are terrified of others finding out that they're not all that. They aren't these all-powerful or all-intelligent beings that they desperately need others to see. You'll see evidence of that in the cerebral narcissist, for example, and especially the covert cerebral. With the partner, they'll talk about all the things that they're knowledgeable about. However, place them in a group setting amongst other intelligent people, and they do love to hang out with intelligent ones. They want to be part of that group, but they're going to be quiet. And here the group will be talking about things that the narcissist is informed on, but they still will remain silent in fear that someone outsmarts them. It's 24-hour paranoia with these people. It isn't only feelings of inadequacies from friends or coworkers either. They are afraid that you will look at them differently and see that deep down they aren't who they show themselves to be. Because if you discovered all of that about them, you would lose all respect. They are nothing without the partner or someone there to give them the attention that they not only need but crave, which is the next thing that they fear, is lack of admiration, which would be number 5. The fear of not being admired or seen as special can be distressing for them. They're going to go to great lengths to seek validation and approval to counteract this fear. And the admiration that they seek can be attained through their looks, for example. They might go into a credit card debt buying things like clothes, vehicles, or the best of the best in technology. You'll notice sometimes for those who live with narcissists how some days they'll come home from work looking really miserable. And often it's because they had an ordinary day. That's it. Just an ordinary day. An ordinary day to a narcissist where no one has praised them means to them that they are nothing, that they aren't special, that they're treated equal to everyone else. And this makes them feel extremely empty. Narcissists are extremely dependent on everyone. So as much as they like to control everything, they are literally being controlled by others. If no one was there to make them feel special, they would be no one, and they can't cope with that. That's why the partner can drive them into a psychotic state when they ignore the narcissist. They're compared to vampires for this very reason. They need others to survive. They need the approval, the respect, and the awe. They feed off of others for that, because without the feeding, death is at the door. Number 6, empathy and intimacy. Narcissists often struggle with genuine empathy and intimate connections. The fear of vulnerability and emotional intimacy can be intense for them. It exposes them to the potential for rejection or abandonment. They'll resist opening up emotionally. How many of you have been with a narcissist partner for years and still don't know anything about their past or their past relationships? And one reason for that is that they fear you throwing anything that you say back in their face. And why? Because that's what they would do to you. Number 7, abandonment. Narcissists fear being abandoned or discarded by those that they value. And this fear is rooted in their deep need for constant attention and admiration. The idea of losing people who provide them with validation and attention can be terrifying and painful because it triggers those feelings from childhood where they're left feeling a longing to be accepted. And lastly, number 8, facing their true self. Narcissists construct elaborate personas to mask their underlying insecurities. The fear of facing their true self with all of its flaws and vulnerabilities can be a deep, deep source of anxiety for them. They resist introspection or any situation that forces them to confront their authentic identity. So there you have it. 8 things that the narcissist fears. And as you can see, the person that you've been fearing all this time is actually in fear of losing you, no matter what they're showing you on the interior. And as for all of you empaths out there, know this. As much as the narcissist is in pain, there is still a real self in there somewhere deep that knows that they are doing wrong and causing harm. And there is nothing that you can do to make them change. So what's left, if you want any sense of peace and joy in your life, is to start working on your own pain. Perhaps it's time that we take them off of their pedestal and hop onto our own. We shall see you in the next video, and bye for now.